So what you're saying is they want to gauge how much outrage there'll be, how much public outcry there'll be, but they also want to see whether or not they can convince those people who have that kind of an outcry not to take all their money out of banks and basically convince them that everything's going to be okay.
Yes, that's correct, and I think that you probably have the title to this, but this coming week we have maneuvers in the United States with Australian, German, Mexican, Canadian, and U.S. troops.
And UK troops. And private forces, by the way. But I know exactly what you're talking about. If you don't know what it is, it's National Level Exercise 09. It's going to be held in the last week of July. It's going to be starting, actually, the day after I get back from California. Totally and completely nightmarish. A total surveillance state is what they're practicing for, taking over all local governments, state governments, tribal governments, and much more. We're going to talk NLE 09 on the other side with Bob Dacy and Bob Chapman. It's the Alex Jones Show. I'm Jason Bermas, sitting in PrisonPlanet.tv.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
All right, folks, we are back. It's the Alex Jones Show. I am Jason Bermas sitting in. Joining me in studio is Bob Dacy, and over the phone is Bob Chapman. We're going to take your calls in the next segment. But I also want to remind people that we are documentary filmmakers out here, and our recent picture, Reflections and Warnings, an interview with Aaron Russo, is now available for free, folks, for free when you get yourself a copy of Endgame and some of the other great movies over at the InfoWars gift shop. And I want to remind people, my film, Fabled Enemies, if you want to know about the International Intelligence Agency that actually did carry out 9/11, we cover it from front to back in this video. Barry Jennings, the current Vice President of the United States, Joseph Biden, Cynthia McKinney, Michael J. Springman, Bo Dietl, and so much more. Fabled Enemies. Go check it out. Now, we were talking about this state of the economy. We're talking about bank holidays and local currencies. Mr. Chapman, if the government starts issuing local currencies, what is the economy in this country going to look like, and what are we going to be doing day to day? I mean, how is that going to work?
Well, as I said, I think they'll have a large meeting, so to speak, and they'll decide ahead of time how much one currency is going to be devalued against another. Mm-hmm. And, of course, all of those changes are going to make all of those currencies degenerate in value versus gold. And so that's very important. But I think if they were to do a switch like that now there's a thing called the USDX, and it's 6 currencies, major currencies, weighted each one against the dollar. Now, the USDX is probably at the state that it's in now, you would probably see somewhere between a 50% and 70% reduction of the dollar versus that group of currencies, that 6 currencies. And that's one heck of a devaluation. Mm-hmm. But what would have to happen at the same time, there would have to be an adjustment of debt between countries, because 64.5% of all of the foreign exchange held by other countries is in dollars. Mm-hmm. So everybody's going to take a haircut if they do that, and I think that's coming.
Well, that is just, it's nightmarish. I wonder what happens to other localized currencies that are outside of government control, like, say, the Lakota rounds.
Well, they'd go up in value. Silver and gold will go up in value. Mm-hmm. If the value of the dollar, let's say, went down 50%, then we would assume that gold and silver would rise 50%.
But doesn't that put them in kind of a spot?
Even a lot more.
But I understand that the rounds essentially would be worth more, but actually in those communities where they're using the rounds as currency, don't you think the federal government is going to want to step in and further regulate them? I mean, when you look at this exercise that you're talking about, National Level Exercise 09, is in FEMA Region 6. That means Texas, Arizona, parts of California, basically the Southwest, and there are Indian reservations there, and they state specifically in these documents that they're going to be going after state, local, and tribal governments. Basically, this is a huge federal takeover, but it's really an international takeover because, like you stated before, we're talking about governments in Canada, Mexico, Australia, the UK, and then private organizations also taking part.
Well, that's correct. And, we're just going to have to watch what they do because we don't know exactly what they are going to do. We have to learn as much from what they're doing as they do. And then we have to broadcast and let everybody know about it, because certainly mainline media is not going to carry it.
That's right, and it's for a full week, and people really do need to arm themselves with cameras and questions if we want to expose this to the world via InfoWars and YouTube, Mr. Dacy.
I want to know from Bob, I have a question for him about this bank holiday thing. I mean, I'm a retailer, I have a local hardware store. How does that affect the guy on the street? I'm in the real world, mainstream America, real business, people getting their toilet fixed and getting their light bulbs changed and all that. How does that affect the average retail establishment during a bank holiday? What happens? You don't take credit cards or what? How does that play out?
Well, you can't, because it won't function, and neither will ATMs.
Well, then nothing will function.
Well, that's true.
That's what everybody uses nowadays.
And gold, or there will be some establishments, I'm sure, that will accept checks incumbent upon the problem being solved. And, of course, government will say, well, we'll have this fixed in a few days, so don't worry about it.
But wait a minute, Bob, won't that also cause an artificial run on the banks if places start actually taking checks that are, say, post-dated to when the banks reopen? Won't there be just an exorbitant amount of checks that are post-dated for when this bank holiday ends, which could then, again, cripple these banks once more? I want to get your opinion on that. On the other side, we're going to be taking your calls. Tony, Rob, Matt, Darren, and more. It's the Alex Jones Show. I am Jason Bermas sitting in. I am with the Bobs, Bob Dacy and Bob Chapman. Go check out the latest news over at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv.
The good old folks at New Silver Solution. And the website is supernaturalsilver.com. Supernaturalsilver.com. This is something that kills bacteria, viruses, you name it, well documented. They've got it down to a super small nano-sized particle. Supernaturalsilver.com. Check them out at Infowars.com.
All right, folks, we are back. It's the Alex Jones Show. I am Jason Bermas sitting in. I'm going to be with you on Sunday as well. We're about to, in the next 30 minutes, we're going to play a eugenics rant by Alex Jones. Hopefully he is going to call in before the end of the show. But we just posed the question to Mr. Dacy. If they do have these bank run, or not Mr. Dacy, I'm sorry, Mr. Chapman. The Bob and Bob thing is killing me right now. But Mr. Chapman, if they do have this bank holiday and people do start accepting checks that are post-dated, which may be the only way to really have transactions, like you said, because there's not going to be a lot of cash available. People won't be able to use their credit cards. They can't use their ATM cards. They're going to be completely shut down. Won't that cause an artificial bank run, whether or not there's an actual bank run with people taking all their money out, an artificial bank run on the day that they reopen, because everybody's going to be cashing these checks?
No, I don't think it'll be that terse. They have the ability to process them, and even if they were backed up for 2 or 3 days, it's no biggie. It's just that many accounts wouldn't get credited as quickly as people would like. But they'll sort that out. I don't think that's going to be a big thing. The important thing is that people are going to learn that these kind of things can happen again, like they happened in the 1930s. And secondly, they're going to rediscover how important gold and silver is a medium of exchange. And I think that will come into play, especially silver and small coins like the sovereign and so on. And it's just, again, I think, a trial run to build up to something bigger that they got in mind later on.
What do you think?
I want to know what that something bigger that they got in mind later on is.
I think it might be that coin that Medved was holding over there. I mean, that coin just creeps me out that they've actually minted a global currency coin. Remember, it's in its beta test stage, but just that they have it there and they're like, this is what we want. And they're holding these meetings. Again, this BRIC meeting, this Brazil, Russia, India, and China meeting, they're openly saying, we don't like the dollar. We want to kick it in the back. They want to cut its throat. It's already like, crippled on its knees and like chained up. They just want to cut the throat of it and just bleed it out.
Well, I just think, just as a retailer who day to day just rings up hundreds of sales all the time, that's what I do. It would just paralyze the whole country if they had a bank holiday. People get mad if I open 5 minutes late.
Yeah, but you know what? They do some things. They probably pull stunts, not only in the media, but in sports. They'd be like, free day to come on down to the stadium and see the Texas Rangers play. It's a bank holiday. It's a first, 20,000 that show up. They'd be, motivating people and really
shutting down what's left of the real economy.
Hey, man, the social engineers are smart. That's all I know. All right, let's take some calls for Bob Dacy and Bob Chapman. Let's go to Tony in Texas. Tony, you're online. Yes, sir.
Hey, look, I really like the format with the Jason, Bob, and Bob show. Hey, real quick, Bob, where's your store? And I want to give you a chance to give a quick plug for yourself. It's
a local. It's in Northwest Austin at Highway 183 and Spotswood Springs Road. And,
Can't say the name. I live in Austin, so I'm looking for a good hardware store because I ain't going to Home Depot and other places.
Well, you think I paid this guy to call in, right?
I did not. This is an unsolicited caller.
All right. It's the hardware store. We're the True Value hardware store in Austin. It's the Hardware Store Incorporated, True Value. And yes, we do e-foods, and yes, we make screens, and yes, we sell the evil guns.
And apparently you fix toilets.
And we fix toilets. Well, we don't fix... No.